It sounds funny, but my biggest fear is that I'm not perfect. I'm a perfectionist, and I get upset when things go wrong or when I don't do well. I'm a perfectionist, so I'm always looking to upgrade all areas of my play. I would consider myself a perfectionist, yeah. I don't think that is always that helpful either. Sometimes it's good to be a little more open-minded. You can overthink things when things are actually fine, and it's that moment that you lose it. Looking back, sometimes I've made mistakes from being a perfectionist. I'm a perfectionist and I've always been interested in growing, and I think that has given me the mental fortitude to continue. People call me a perfectionist, but I'm not. I'm a rightist. I do something until it's right, and then I move on to the next thing. I am pretty tenacious as a perfectionist in terms of getting something right. Not really a perfectionist, but everybody around me is. I'm a perfectionist. I need to be needed. I need to do things for a man, but I don't need to do them as much, these days. I'm a perfectionist. I'm pretty much insatiable. I feel there's so many things I can improve on. I don't want to call myself a perfectionist, because perfection is imperfection. I'm a perfectionist and my own worst critic. I'm a perfectionist. I'm not going to cheat the people. Mrs. Doubtfire is still a fun movie, and it's still fun to watch, but it is hard to watch myself sometimes. I get very critical, and people will say, "Mara, you were 5. And I'm like, yeah, but I still should have known better. I'm a lifelong perfectionist, what can I say? I'm a perfectionist, which I think is a mistake. I'm very driven by what I do. I am certainly very competitive. I like people who represent the best at what they do, and if that turns you into a perfectionist, then maybe I am. At age 12, I was on Guiding Light, and I wanted to be accepted by these adults I was working with. I started with the Eat Right for Your type diet. A friend who was a little older was doing it. I have a perfectionist personality, so I wanted to do the best job I could. I was not eating anything it said not to. I'm a perfectionist, and I always think that I can do better what I have done, even if it's good. I'm a different person off the court than I am on the court, where I'm very competitive, a perfectionist, and I can be hard on myself sometimes. Off the court, nothing really bothers me. I'm easygoing. I've always been that person. If it gets into my head, I've got to do it until I get it perfect, a perfectionist's attitude. I'm like a recovering perfectionist. For me it's one day at a time. I have always been a very patient person. I am a perfectionist but have a high level of patience and think that's one of the things when I started my comeback that really helped. I wasn't rushing anything as long as I knew I was on the right track. It's a bit of a headache being a perfectionist. You're never satisfied. I'm not a perfectionist. I'm just very observant. I'm a big perfectionist. I'm trying to channel super confident women like Alicia Keys, Mariah Carey and Beyoncé, because I realized that if you want something, you really have to go for it, just like they do. I am not a perfectionist. Perfection doesn't exist in real life. It's a wrong title for me. Every time, all the time, I'm a perfectionist. I feel I should never lose. And I deal with all that by being like a perfectionist. But that's okay. I've been called many names like perfectionist, difficult and obsessive. I think it takes obsession, takes searching for the details for any artist to be good. Parenting is no sport for perfectionists. I am a perfectionist. This job is a total ego thing in a way. To be a designer and say, this is the way they should dress, this is the way their homes should look, this is the way the world should be. But then, that's the goal, world domination through style. But I think Steve's main contribution besides just the pure leadership is his passion for excellence. He's a perfectionist. Good enough isn't good enough. And also his creative spirit. You know, he really, really wants to do something great. A perfectionist? That's part of my job. Lucy is such a perfectionist. I like difficult people because that means they're perfectionists and they're passionate. I'm a horrible perfectionist and very highly strung. That's why I do yoga, to unwind. I'm a perfectionist by nature. Then, because I'm so close to Angie, it's like I've already got the perfect woman in my life and it's hard for anyone else to live up to that. Tom Landry is a perfectionist. If he was married to Raquel Welch, he'd expect her to cook. A diva is someone who is a perfectionist, who does her best in her craft. I was made to be a perfectionist at everything I did. Everything was more important than what I wanted. I don't believe in perfection. I don't think there is such a thing. But the energy of wanting things to be great is a perfectionist energy. Perfectionist is sometimes the wrong word. It means like you're never satisfied, or you're upset by every single failure, any type of failure. And so for me, I don't look at failure as necessarily a bad thing as long as I'm able to learn from it and take something from it, so that next time I'm in that situation I know how to succeed. Perfectionists are their own devils. I'm a perfectionist, and even if something comes out great, it's still not perfect, you know? I'm a perfectionist. Sometimes it's not always perfect, and there are mistakes, and you pick yourself up and move on. I've learned you can't be a perfectionist. I still strive to do my best in every area, but I've learned to let go. People often called us perfectionists, but we were not looking for perfection. We were looking for some kind of magic in the music. I've got perfectionist issues, as I can't seem to let tracks out the studio. It drives my manager nuts. There are so many moving parts to a wedding, and it turns out, am a bit of a perfectionist. I was something that is always hated in Hollywood, a perfectionist. Nobody likes a perfectionist, you know. I'm not a perfectionist. I don't have enough patience to go over the same details over and over trying to get it perfect. Visit our website for more quotes, quoting.com.